Preparing and testing your young dog's natural abilities with tracking, field search, and their confidence to enter water provides valuable information for both owner and breeder. This information not only helps the owner with future training, but also helps the breeder make adjustments to their breeding program. The purpose of versatile testing is to evaluate the use of the dog's nose, search, water, pointing, tracking, and the dog's desire and cooperation doing those jobs with their handler. Our goal is to educate these dogs to approach water as another type of terrain. We are introducing the concept that a search in the water can be as productive as a search on land. Many handlers tend to do this in a vacuum by training in the same location over and over, and not providing the dog different sight pictures or distractions. Come test day, it's going to be a much different feeling for both you and your dog. Not only will this be a new body of water, but there will be new distractions that the dog may not be prepared for, such as the judges, other handlers and their dogs, and occasionally a photographer, which can all be very distracting to a dog. So if you don't feel you have a dog that's going to go into the water no matter what, you need to practice with him by introducing them to as many different scenarios as possible. So be sure to include family or friends, have them stand beside you at the water's edge to give the dog the experience of what the test day will be like. Hey Trent, thanks for coming over today. What I wanted to kind of do is recap your journey with Whiskey.
Yep.
So when we met, you had a German Shorthair.
Yep.
He was already a couple years old?
Yep, two and a half. Yeah.
Right. And then you ended up getting a Pudelpointer.
Yes. Yep.
What was your expectations for the Pudelpointer alone? What was one of your...
Well, the whole reason I went with a Pudelpointer was I do a lot of duck hunting. I'm almost 50-50 duck hunting upland. Short hair's great in the water, great on land, but duck hunting gets a little cold. They can't take the cold as well, and hopefully I wanted to go with a coarser coat, and then Pudelpointers have a high water drive, so that's what led me to that dog.
I think when I saw Whiskey, he was like 4 months old. I think that's when we started messing around with him.
You're really young. Yep.
Did you go through the test of the rules? Did you read up on it, or were you just totally like whatever it takes?
No, I always read up on everything. I always look up on the internet, watch videos, talk to guys.
Right.
I went through and watched some videos of how the test progresses. What you do first, second, and it's pretty cut and dry. They just want to see what a good puppy is at a young age.
Right. When you're getting a young dog ready for a water test in any of the versatile dog clubs, the retrieve is not what we're looking for. We do throw bumpers, birds, and other objects into the water for them, but these are simply to entice the dog to swim, so don't worry if your dog does not retrieve. In the beginning, I like to start at a boat launch. These locations have a firm bottom and a gradual slope that instills confidence in the dog's entry to water. This also eliminates the possibility of encountering drop-offs where the dog may find himself in water over his head. We're going to follow a young dog through this process. This is Whiskey. He is 4 months old and has never been in the water. For his first outing, we're going to introduce him to the water as a new environment with his owner and are not going to ask anything from him. We just want him to follow his owner into the water and have fun. Always pay attention to the dog's demeanor. As you can see, Whiskey's tail is up and wagging. He's happy because we created a stress-free introduction to water. I encourage the use of another dog that enjoys water as a training tool. It helps give the dog in training more confidence. You'll see this with Whiskey. He'll go in a bit deeper with the same enthusiasm, as he wants to play with the other dog or take whatever is in the other dog's mouth. You'll see this technique come into play as we take Whiskey to different locations. What was on your wish list for the first time we went down to the water?
I wasn't expecting a lot. He pretty much did what I expected and what I wanted because he was so young, and as you'll see, it was very windy that day, so we had a little bit of water, splashing around, and he went in up to his chest and was interested, wasn't scared of the water.
Right.
Was pretty bold in the water, and then when we took out the other dog, he followed, went in a little bit deeper, so I was very happy with that.
Right.
Walk right in, see if he comes with you.
Dogs are place-oriented. When they learn something in one location, it does not mean that they will perform the same in a different place. With Whiskey, we waited about a week and took him to a different boat launch with a shallow bank around it. At this stage, we're going to begin using a bumper to engage Whiskey. We're not throwing the bumper into swimming depth water because we are still building up his confidence. This may seem like a long process, but in anything with dog development, it's baby steps. Take your time and don't rush it. Don't try to do drills every day of the week.
Whiskey. We're coming to yet another boat launch. Again, always emphasizing a hard bottom.
We are a couple weeks later into spring. The water is warming up, and we're going to take the same approach as before. Whiskey does not have a problem entering the water, but is yet to swim on his own. These baby steps will eventually give him the confidence to swim. I refrain from using words like fetch or dead bird in this early stage. We're just creating a splash. The splash is what entices the dog. We're bringing another dog into the water that we know likes to swim. This happens to be his bigger brother, Kip, from home. And you'll notice that Whiskey always wants to steal the bumper, and that's a good sign. The more times a young dog sees an older dog do something, the more confidence it gives them to try it on their own.
I know early on we brought one of my dogs out in the water, and that gave him a little confidence. Then we started bringing your older dog out in the water.
Yep.
When you would go home from basically a homework assignment to say, Trent, just keep doing this for the next couple of weeks till we see each other, did you consistently bring your older dog out, or did you kind of mix it up?
Well, I would always bring him with, and I would always start with Whiskey by himself. You know, give him the chance to prove himself, and I would always do short ones, you know, where he's not swimming and get him comfortable wherever we were at. And I have a pretty nice spot right close to home that I can quick make it to after work that he was always confident with. He knew the surroundings, he knew the bottom, you know, what the bottom felt like on his paws.
Right.
So I would give him the opportunity to try himself, and if he wouldn't, I would just go back to the truck, grab Kip, and let Kip run out there and get the bumper, which would entice him, and he would almost be swimming, like, you know, his front paws would be off, and he would be there. Yep, and he obviously wants that bumper, and he would take it right from Kip as soon as he got out of the water.
Right.
So I would just
So his sight picture was kind of the same. In the end, he ended up watching Kip get the bumper.
Yep.
Here is a new area with very shallow water for a long way out. If you can find water similar to this, it can be a great location to make progress. Now we know this young dog loves to be in the water with his owner. Since this body of water is very shallow, it will give the dog more confidence to go further from the bank. As they get further out, you're going to see him start using his front feet because he's starting to get a little buoyant. Trent is not going to go into swimming depth water and will turn around soon, all the while keeping it playful. And right there, we're getting little teeny bits of a swim. The bottom is close enough to his feet that he can feel it. As Trent brings him back to shore, you'll notice he is doing so with the same animation as he did going out, always keeping it playful. You want to be very animated. Do not be very stoic. Do not ask a lot of the dog. Always keep it playful with a young dog. You're going to get far more results.
You know, one of the things I mentioned to you, and I mention this all the time to people, is to try to stay very animated. And I think we captured that pretty good. But did you understand what I meant by animated? Because I think sometimes owners get a predisposed idea that the dog should just go in on command, like your older dog.
Yeah.
Did you understand what I meant by animated?
I did. I mean, Because
I would have been sillier. I would have had a clown head.
No, I just know he likes, you know, the splashing in the water, and then the dummy that has the flopping head, you know, that gives a lot of motion there. And I just splash in the water and throw it and shake that dummy around, and that gets his interest and is hyped up, you know. Sometimes when they get so excited, they almost forget what they're in, or you know, they want that bumper so bad that they just go in the water without even thinking about it.
Whiskey has been making progress in different bodies of water. On this day, we took him to a different boat launch. This one has a cement approach, which is very comforting to the dog. There is no sinking in the sand or mucky bottom. You may see some of your best work if you can find a spot like this. In a puppy test, the water segments are very likely going to be in a private pond or fishing lake. I cannot stress enough that you also want to train in spots that the dog is not familiar with and maybe not comfortable with. Whiskey just went out to the bumper, but continued swimming past it. He's really starting to get the hang of this. The bumper is just the enticement to get him out there. The swimming is our goal, and he's now finding that as enjoyable as a walk in the field. You're now seeing a dog here that's becoming very confident. We originally started this in very cold water in the early spring. Now we're in early summer, and he has all the confidence in the world. I have no doubt this dog will do well in his test, but there are places yet to go that he has not seen, and at some point, he may take a step backwards.
That one time we were at a boat launch that had like a cement bottom to it.
Yep.
I remember that time he went out for the bumper and totally blew past the bumper.
Yep.
And all of a sudden we're like,
hey,
he's swimming, right?
Yeah.
And he just was out there for a minute or so. He didn't even care about the bumper.
No, he probably seen a butterfly or a bird.
Which helps.
Yeah, he's very distracted. He gets distracted at that young of age.
Did you see any of that in the field with him with butterflies or birds?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, anything
So
with
you almost kind of knew he needed a little extra stimulus. Like, he didn't just go into the field breaking out into a big search until he had a little something to chase.
Yep. Yeah, it was in the early stages. It's always just he's just walking, doesn't really understand what we're doing, and then sees something fluttering, and that's automatic stimulus.
I'd almost think there's a little parallel to the way he approached water to the way he approached fields. Then,
yeah, I would say so.
Always a little on a tentative side.
Yep.
But interested in expanding a little bit when he saw something or when he felt something.
Yeah, and obviously that's all DNA is seeing a bird or seeing something fly.
Right.
So if you're splashing something around and that maybe look like a wounded bird, it hasn't seen one at that point, but I'm sure that's their DNA. Something is distressed, so that gets his attention.
This is a small pond that has a lot of silt and a soft bottom. This is an area where we may likely see a regression in performance. You'll notice that Whiskey is reacting differently in this pond because of the bottom texture and environment. He still wants the bumper, but he's not inclined to go swimming for it. The bumpers are thrown very close to the shore because of the drop-off. We're almost going back to step one, even though we've seen this dog swim previously. Always keep your enthusiasm up. Never get disappointed or scold your dog. This should always stay fun. To help Whiskey make progress in this location, we're going to bring back the older dog to help encourage him like we did earlier in the program. Whiskey wants to be out with his big brother, but he just doesn't have the wherewithal to launch himself into that water as an older dog with experience would. In a situation like this, you want to be sure to stop before the dog becomes bored or shows too many refusals. Keep these sessions short, keeping an eye on the dog's demeanor. As you can see, Whiskey was not successful in this pond, after already showing us he was able to swim, so Trent has some homework to do. He'll continue these exercises, building Whiskey's confidence in areas where he has found success and failures.
Along the way, we've been hitting these gradual slopes, solid ground places, and I remember the first time I said we're going to go in my backyard.
Yep.
I had this little pothole of a pond to go in. How did you feel when we were going there?
I thought for sure he was going to swim.
You thought
he was swimming at that time.
He was swimming at that time, and you're like, I almost kind of feel like you're going, watch this.
Yeah, well, pretty much. Yeah, I knew he was going to. I mean, he was swimming at all the boat launches almost consistently. I wasn't 100%. I was 75-80% sure he was going to go in.
But you had seen a lot of success before we went into my backyard pond, and we did that for the reason of that could be where he's doing his test.
Yeah, exactly.
And that was a very different sight picture.
Yep.
Very small, trees all around it.
Sharp bank.
Went
deep.
And we did that on purpose.
Yep.
Did you later on find something similar to that and see him be able to go through that? Because I don't think we ever brought him back to my pond.
No, we never brought him back to your pond, but I did find other swampier, steeper, soft, mucky bottom areas. I think there was probably 2-3 weeks there where I went to a different piece every time. I never went to the same piece.
Water.
Yeah, because I didn't know what the piece of water was going to look like on test day. So I just wanted to show them swampy water. We went into Lake Michigan, rolling waves. We went into a creek, a slow-moving creek.
Right.
We went into everything. So
you gave him a lot of sight pictures.
Yeah, different feelings on the bottom. Lake Michigan, very sandy. Boat launches, gravelly, concrete.
Right.
Swamps, mucky,
Right.
soft bottom.
Did you see the same things when you went to those other places?
A little tiny bit. He wanted to. I would let him go up to the water just by himself without even trying to get him going. I would just let him run the banks, smell, get his searching out of the way and his interest, and then we'd do what we
You'd walk in the water or throw something
in the water. I would always start with just throwing it short, not swimming, but just walking into the water and grabbing, and then I'd progress farther and farther out until he was swimming.
In the process, when we were working together and filming this past summer, did you ever hit a spot where you just like hit a wall and wondered what happened to my dog?
Yeah, it was that day here at your pond.
Okay.
When he refused there, I went home. Obviously didn't do anything else that day, but a day or two, usually give him a couple days or a day to think about it. And then we went back to a spot where I knew he had swam before and had confidence at, and he didn't go in.
You saw the same.
Saw the same refusal. And I remember standing there, watching him just stand at the bank, just like crying, whining at the bumper. You wanted the bumper, but he wasn't swimming at it. And I just remember being...
Did you picture yourself that being test day?
A little bit. I still had a little bit of time, quite a bit of time till test day, but I was pretty nervous.
You're thinking like, oh God,
what's going on?
Don't let this happen
on
test day.
I 100% thought, I have a dog that's not going to swim.
And it
was just, when I look back at it, it was like a week in time, maybe a week.
Maybe a couple different places.
Yep. But I just went back to where he had confidence, the shallow water, not going over his head. Just right on the shore, using Kip again, and just kept going back to where he had confidence, and then pushing the boundary a little bit, and then eventually he just started swimming again. But I was very concerned.
I know. I've been there. It's a little nerve-wracking sometimes. He seemed to really do well when you were in the water.
Yeah, he's very attached to me.
Right.
Yeah.
Like when you walked out in that shallow Silver Lake, he had zero. He would have followed you to the other side.
Yeah, he would have.
If that other side of the water was that deep the whole way, he would have followed you all the way to the sand dune.
Yeah, and obviously earlier in the year I had to wear waders, so that kind of prohibits how deep you can go, or how cold the water you want to go in. But yeah, during the middle of summer, I would actually swim, just go out there and just swim, and I would just float around out there with him, and
he would swim
feels
with
very
you.
confident with me.
So it's kind of like the key for him was being connected to you. His cooperation level was part of the
100%
the enticement.
Yep, and I would say he was more bold or confident with me versus just being out there with another dog. And we spend a lot of time together. It's either just a quick walk in the woods after work, or a training bird here or there, and he just knows good things happen when he's with me.
He's very attached to you.
Yep.
What did you think the process was going to be? Did you ever have a feeling like this will take 3 times or 4 weeks? Did you have any preconceived notions of how long this would take?
I did. I figured, obviously it was cold, so I wanted it to get. I didn't have any expectations until probably middle of summer when he was, nice, comfortable, warm water.
Right.
He followed my expectations pretty well, but there in the middle, I was getting a little nervous because he was right at the very edge of doing it every time, but it wasn't perfect every time.
Yeah, we never really saw him, quote unquote, go back to the truck or lose interest.
No, he was
always interested
in it. Yep.
But he just didn't have that
right on the edge
that
all
little,
the time.
That little, as in Wizard of Oz, courage. He didn't have any courage.
Yeah, he didn't have quite the courage.
Right.
And he never had any bad experiences in the water. It just getting that first step off the bottom of the water and swimming.
Leading up to test day, you mentioned that you're getting basically no refusals at this point.
Yeah.
But you still know you're going to go to yet another place.
Different place that you've never seen.
How confident were you when you went to test day? Did you think you showed him enough places that this is not going to throw him?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I was confident at that time. He had seen all the different variables, different bottoms, and half the time I would have to hold him. I would hold him back to throw the bumper, but then he would just disregard the bumper and just wanted to be swimming at that point. Butterflies, birds, dragonflies, anything. Yeah.
So that future duck hunting dog that you wanted,
yeah.
Now you had to be feeling like I think I got him.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
This guy doesn't need a bumper or me in the water.
No, he will go in
He
the water.
just goes in the water.
Yep.
Later on, that command comes, that training comes from just, literally sending him on a blind
him to
retrieve.
something. Yeah.
So now we get to test day.
Yep.
The organization lays out a selection of bumpers for you to
Yep.
to
They
pick
have
from.
everything from like hard plastic, canvas, the dummy bumpers,
White and black,
orange, yeah,
Right.
whatever,
All different colors.
yeah, whatever you have been using, they pretty much have there,
Right.
you know.
Did you gravitate towards something you felt was familiar?
Yeah, yep.
Right.
The canvas was what we used a lot.
So, walking up to the line, how did you feel and how did it go?
I was, like I said, I was confident at that point. They dump out the bucket of bumpers, and I picked 2 of the fire hose canvas bumpers that I know he likes.
Right.
Throw one in, and I think he retrieved that one right away, came right back up to me, and that water was a shallow entry, but it was a soft, more stagnant water,
Right.
softer bottom,
Yeah.
which he did have a little bit of issue with in the beginning, but he blew right through it. And then they want you to do it twice, and obviously the retrieve part of the test isn't necessary.
Right.
They just want him to go in the water and get all 4 feet off the bottom and swim.
Right.
Second bumper, threw it out there, and dragonfly flew past his nose. And so he takes off. Well, he's swimming, but I can't get him out of the water now. So he likes swimming enough to where he doesn't want to come out of the water
Right.
now. And I actually had to throw my hat on the bank to get his attention, to get him out of the water.
Yeah. You had to tease him back where you used to have to tease him out.
Out, yep.
Now you have to tease him back a
in.
little bit.
Yep.
Did you see a lot of other variables in some of the other dogs that day? Because there's usually 8 to 10 puppies on a day.
Yeah, there was 8 to 10 there. There was a few of them right from the very get-go in the morning where, we're talking and I don't know about the water part. We're not confident on the water part. And they were right. They know their dogs. And we go down there and they were not having it with the bumpers. And then they move on to a dead bird.
Right.
And I think one dog out of there's maybe 3, one of them went in after the bird, maybe
Right.
once. But
Right.
the other dogs, they didn't even go in after the birds.
And that bird is it's a fresh bird from that day. It's
Yeah.
not a frozen
Yep.
bird.
Yep.
It's not a stinky bird.
Right.
It's a bird that
Bird from
expired that day.
Yep. And they put it in their face, let them smell it. And even though they are more than happy to go get it on land,
Right.
as soon as it goes off into the deeper water,
Right.
they weren't having it.
Did you ever feel like if you'd have done what I did this summer, you would have had that problem?
Yeah, 100%. Because
Right.
when you talk to the owners, that they didn't put as much time and effort in as I did.
You're having those tailgate conversations with other dog owners,
Yep.
and you have to be thinking, you did not try
Yeah,
enough.
yep, 100%.
Your dog probably would have done what it was supposed to do
Yep.
today.
Yep, if you would have taken
Yeah.
just a couple more days or
A little more
weeks,
effort.
yeah, a little more effort. Yep.
A little more effort.
Yep.
So at the end of the day, your water score, you got a 4.
Yes. Yep.
And with a multiplier of 5 in this particular test, he earned 20 points for that.
Right.
Right.
Yep. Yeah, he didn't have any hesitation. He retrieved the bumper once, and then the second time
Entered
he
the
did
water
it,
boldly.
But he swam completely fine both times. So it's
So you got your max score. You got your future duck hunting dog.
Good boy. Here.